So in this video I'm going to be talking about Heroes of Thargos, which is part of Cursed Empire. This is a game that I saw for the first time on UK Games Expo, and it's one of my stars of the show, which I demoed and played and saw at the convention. I went on Sunday. I managed to see everything that was on offer, and there was a few other games which I'll talk about in another video specifically about UK Games Expo. So I was fortunate to meet the Chris Loiseau, who is the designer of the game, as well as the Ryan, who was the artist of the game. Now, what it is, this particular one, in its core, is a card game, a bit like a two-player card game. So I purchased the neoprene mat and also the miniatures. So there's some miniatures, and I'll talk about what they are representing in a minute. Get me rule book. There's a better rule book or a more in-depth rule book online through their website, but effectively it tells you a little bit about the rules of the game. Head-to-head, which is just your normal setup, your normal way to play. Okay, one player versus another player, one player this side, one player this side. Very similar to many other card games that you've got. There's some nuances that are different, which I'll talk about in a minute. Then there's the story mode, which is really exciting. This is really cool. Makes it really quite unique. And then there's a solo mode, okay, that uses effectively dice. So what you're doing in the game, and I've set up here 2 decks effectively that can be used. And what you're doing is you're going to have 4 characters. So let me put those to the side. So you're going to have 4 characters, each player, and then you're going to have a deck of 60 cards. Okay. Now the characters have a uninjured side or a ready side, and then an injured side, as denoted up here with the injured. They also have a points cost. Now, what a really nice mechanic of this game. One of the first things that when I was doing the demo, when I was playing the game, was you create your 4 characters how you want. Now, obviously, the more points they're worth, the stronger the character is. Okay, so you might have this guy, Sir Conrad, who has really decent stats. Costs 11. Really nice. They've all got special abilities as well, and they all do different kind of synergies, if you like. And you might go, well, I'll just choose all the best ones. So I'll grab, all of these characters who are extremely powerful, and my opponent will have literally no chance against me. There's more here as well. So there's plenty of characters to choose from. So there's a 12. So let's say those go for these 4. Okay. So 20, 32, 40. 40 points in my characters, and I'm saying, look at my stats. I've got, my opponent's got no chance. This also ties in the amount of victory points that you need. Now, the game plays in 4 tracks, the standard 2v2. So you've got your 4 characters on each side. So there's all the characters. So loads and loads of characters. Then, from your deck, you've got 3 different types of card. Okay, 3 different types of card. And these are the 2 decks. You've got yellow mission cards, okay, which will have victory points. So this is how you get the win, okay? So this player down here will need 40 victory points. This player here is 12, 17, 26, 25. So is that all he's got? 12, 17. Yeah, you can see the difference. Yeah, 25. So only 25. So they've only got to achieve 25 victory points. So from these, which go from 1 up to 4, I believe, in terms of the victory points they're worth. And these are what you're going to be fighting over. You're going to be fighting over these missions. So you're each going to take it in turns to play a mission card from your hand, effectively. So this is going to be... so let's say we choose those, and you choose which lane you want to go for, depending on what kind of attribute you're going to be going for. 3 attributes that you've got of might, mind, and mysteria, I think it's called. Okay, so once you've played your cards, you're going to draw a hand of 6 cards. You're going to be fighting off in these tracks, okay? And on your turn, you can play advancements. So the second type of cards are these, which are lasting cards, and think of them as enhancements. And they might give you bonuses to your stats, which those 2 are doing. And they might give you abilities that you can trigger, okay? And you see it says L on them. So they're blue, they're all blue, but they've also got L on them as well. And these, you're going to play one of these on your turn as your first action, and you can place it onto any of your champions, okay, any of your characters. These all have C under them. That's for color blindness. So if you can't tell between the reds and the blues, you can look down here and you see these are C's, that's character cards. Blue cards are L's for lasting cards, and the yellow ones have got numbers, which denote their kind of worth in terms of victory points. Once you played your blue card, the next choice is either to play a green card or trying to complete or fulfill a mission. Okay, green cards are action cards, and it tells you what it does on underneath. Okay, so you can just play one of those, do whatever it does, and then that's your turn over. Or you say, I'm going to attempt to go for this one, let's say this track here. You look at the corresponding stats, and they're the ones you're fighting over. So this is might and mind. Then you're going to total up your total. So 3 might and 3 mind. The attacker has to get equal to or higher on all the stats which are shown. The defender is currently on a 2 on might, but gets the bonus in defense of whatever's on the card. In this case, it's +1. So this will be 3 in might, and looks like 3 in mind, but also gains +1 mind when defending a mission. So it's actually going to be 3, 4. So it's going to be a 3 and a 4, and the attackers a 3 and a 3. So we're already at a bit of disadvantage. But how do we make this better? So what you do is on all of your cards in your hand, you'll have numbers ranging from 1 to 4. This is your bonus. Now you can play any number of these on your attacking. Now in attack, you can put them anywhere you like. In defense, you have to assign them equally amongst the stats which you're competing for. Okay, so amongst these 2 stats, for example. So the attacker might say they're going to put in, I don't know, 2 into 5 +5 into strength or might, and +4 into mind, taking this up to 5, 8, and this one up to 7. Now you don't reveal these. All you do is you say, I'm putting these 2 down, and the attacker decides first and has to show what they are putting down in terms of the cards. Then the defender gets a choice to do the same. So they'll take cards from theirs, and thinking about kind of like what might go. So obviously putting 2 cards on, they could be bluffing, and just putting 1s on there, just to try and force the defender to start using their cards. But they might put, I don't know, they might match it and do 2 on might and 1 on mind if they've got the cards for it. Then you do reveal, and then you total up for those ones. Now the defender only has to defend 1 of them. So currently 3 + 3 is 6. So the attacker's winning on might. And does he defend? 2 + 4 is 6 as well, and 4 + 3 is 7. So in this case, the attacker would win. All boost cards are discarded from both groups, so you've got a discard pile. Then if the attacker was successful, they claim the mission, they do what it says, so heal all injured characters in your hero party. So if we had this one's injured for some reason, they will flip over to ready, that's heal, so it's going to ready is meaning heal. And then the defender, if they failed, have to use a card from their hand. So let's say we got this. So say they got these. Use a mission card from their hand to place down. Now, if they do not have a mission card in hand, then what they have to do is go from the top of their deck and start discarding cards until they find one, which can start to mill your deck. Now, why that's a problem, and then they'll have to put the first one they get down. Why that's a problem? It's because if you ever run out of your deck, you lose the game. So you can either win the game by meeting victory points. So this player here just got 2 victory points, for example, of their 40, or your opponent runs out of their draw deck. So if you can force them to mill their deck, you always have 60 cards, 20 of each yellow, green, and blue, and that's another win condition. Okay. If the attacker failed to complete, so in other words, if the defender managed to get a greater value in any of the stats which they're competing for, the attacker becomes injured and does not claim the mission. The defender wouldn't claim the mission either, because they didn't initiate the fulfillment of that mission. Okay. If you can attack when you're injured, as long as it doesn't say otherwise on the card. So this Chrysos could attack again on their next go, which is fine, but the stats will tend to be lower on the injured side. Okay, but that's fine. They can attack. If they fail, you don't get taken out of the game. Those 4 champion characters will stay there unless there's a card which says otherwise. But obviously they still need to get equal to or higher on all the stats that you are competing for to be able to claim the mission. So you keep playing turn on turn until the player's gone. What we really like about this is these stats will change, of course. So it just happens to be that these are the same values. Okay, but let's say you just completed this mission and your opponent plays one like this. So it suddenly changes to purely strength. Okay, so now mine doesn't have a place. So suddenly you don't move these characters. Okay, they stay in that track, and I love the synergy and the dynamic way that these missions change as you start to move around. The one that they've just done, by the way, was the Condor Houses of Healing. There's a little bit of flavor text down here. The Condor Houses of Healing are renowned for treating the worst battle wounds, and that's why, as a fulfillment, you get to heal your injured characters in your hero party, because it's a healing place. So they're all thematic, which makes sense. The one that come up now is Survive Dothraki Horde Attack. Dothraki are an abomination. Thargane ancient experiments gone wrong and evolved into ravenous beasts. Okay, if you manage to take those out, fulfill to force defender discard 2 cards of their choice. So you're getting the advantage over your defender, as it were. Okay, so you got some location kind of missions. You've got some. So this is crossing the Ralun Ice Pass, for example. Ralun Range, a freezing jagged peak region. So that's kind of like your classic Lord of the Rings style from Fellowship, trying to get through the mountains. So you're doing that until someone wins, okay? Either by getting an opponent to run out of their deck, or completing enough victory points on mission cards to match your total. So even though this player has weaker characters, they don't need as many points to win the game. And I really like that dynamic, that you don't have to have the same points. You can play it how you like. In terms of deck construction, because effectively you just get a load of cards in this box set, I would recommend how I've done these 2 decks. That was the part of that one. How I've done these 2 decks is just based it on equal numbers of these plus numbers, and just randomly done them. So they've got like 6 missions at +1, and then 7 just to make up 20 of each color. So they should be relatively even, but completely random. Obviously, you want to start synergizing them. If you want to really play it properly, you want to start synergizing, and you can do kind of like drawing. You can start grabbing cards from your discard. You can tie them into different characters and how they play. So very similar to many card games, battle card games that you can imagine from that. So I would say the difference between this one and other ones is unlike mana, I suppose, you've got the 3 different stats, but it's this track element and the fact that you always will have these 4 characters, but they will stay, generally speaking, on those 4 tracks, and you're going to be boosting them up as the game goes on. So do you kind of and you can actually change these lasting cards. You can do a lot of the cards, especially the events, will trigger things about these lasting cards, either stealing them or discarding them, or even possibly removing them from the game so they don't even go to the discard pile. Some cards will utilize the discard pile. Some cards will actually steal cards from your opponent. So there's loads of different mechanics that will take in place. But this changing mission types, I really like that mechanic. It's a really nice part of the game. Okay. Now, that's the head-to-head. That's your normal head-to-head rules. Solo works in pretty much the same way. You've got these kind of like 3 dice. So these are just the dice that came when I bought the rest of it. But the difference being, you kind of trigger what action goes with what by rolling a dice. And you can kind of think of it as a 1 being bad for your AI, 6 being really good for your AI, and then 2, 3, 4, 5 as you go along the positions of the tracks. Okay, so second track, third track, fourth track, fifth track. And that's the way it works. So the AI is effectively drawing cards on the start of the turn until they draw a blue card. So you discard through their deck. Now, discarding their deck and get rid of their deck does not cause them to lose. It's actually a mechanic which increases their infamy. Once you get the blue, you roll the dice. 2, 3, 4, 5, it goes on one of those. 1, it goes on the one with the least amount of stats. 6, it goes on the one with the greatest amount of stats. So let's say you rolled a 3, it would go over to here and we'll go under here. So that's always happens in the first, so they're guaranteed to get a blue lasting card every turn. Then you roll a red dice to determine what attacks. If you roll a 1, it passes for that turn, it doesn't attack. 2, 3, 4, 5 determines the track that attacks. And depending on their stance, they're going to have a stance, either it's aggressive, defensive, or wary, will determine what card cache they have. So it's always 6 cards. If they're attacking, they're going to have 4 cards in their attacking cache and 2 cards in the defensive cache. So you can put them attacking and defense, effectively. Then, depending on what they roll on the red dice, will depend on where they go. So they'll use all of those cards in their attack for their boost thing. Remember the number at the top right. And you've got to try and figure as the defender how you defend that. And it's going to be very random in terms of what track that's going to be. So you're not going to really tell which one they're going to be shooting for. And then obviously the defense one they will use in their defense. Now, you don't draw up until the start of your turn. You draw back up to 6 cards at the start of your turn. Once the AI has run out of their draw deck, then it comes, you have a little infamy track, and they go up in the infamy markers track. When they attack, they get an extra card, boost card if you like, for each one, time they go up the track. So once they get to level 1, they're going to gain 1 card every time they attack. 2 cards, 3 cards, 4 cards, 5 cards, and 6 finally 6 cards. So the longer they're in the game and they're playing, the longer it takes you to win, the harder it's going to be for the AI, which I really like. I really like that mechanic. Now, I've only managed to, because I only got this game yesterday, I only managed to play it once through. And I made a few mistakes, especially about how you allocate cards in defense. I thought you could put them in any stat you want, whatever you're competing in, but you have to balance them evenly. Okay. So it works exactly the same way. The AI wins if you run out of deck, or they fulfill the points, same as always, and you're trying to hit those points yourself. Now, what's really exciting about this game is what the company is trying to do. Now, what they're hoping to do is they're going to be kickstarting a sea battle game, effectively, which is a grand scope. So you can think of this as kind of like doing missions in a certain city. This is kind of what's happening here. Okay, where you've got your 4 characters against 4 other characters, and you're kind of attacking through. The sea battles are almost a bit more like a Euro in a sense. I guess kind of area control, resource management, that kind of idea with boats, and you've got these. It's all based in a Spartan kind of world, I guess, or ancient Greek world, but with a fantasy theme to it. Of course, a lot of fantastical, high fantasy elements in it, and so you're going along a world map, if you like, and you're doing these areas. And then what you can do is you can tie in the different games, and there's going to be the story mode, as I mentioned, which kind of is based in, well, it could be a mix of lots of different things, to be honest. But you can base it on this kind of mechanic, this card mechanic, or you could do it in the story mode mechanic, which actually uses locations and a set story route. So you grab certain cards of these. So I can't remember which one was which now. Certain cards from here. Let me put those on there. So, yellow mission cards to form a kind of story arc, and it can have branching story arcs. So you might go, I'm doing this one, and then and you can even split the party. So you can play this with more than you can play this with up to 8 people in co-op mode. So there's a versus mode, which is one I just showed you. There's a solo mode. There's also a co-op mode as well, and where you can kind of go against the AI. But you can split your party up. So I've got these miniatures as well. So they've done some pre-production resin miniatures because of the next mode, which I'm going to mention in a second. So then you try and complete this mission. Then you make a choice. Do you go down? Do you go down this route, or do you go up this route? And then you might go here, and then there might be side missions, and then you go through. Your party might split, and then you might do 2 different games. So you kind of do this kind of story arc, as it were. And not only that, is another story or a different mechanic or game mode, I suppose you can say, that part of this game's going to do is you can zoom right into this particular mission. So this is escort criminals to the halls of justice, right? So you've got this mission, which is escorting a mission. Now, normally when you're playing the game with the cards, you're effectively, you don't really care about that. You're just looking at the might stat, yeah, and you're using your opponent to go against it. Or the actual city may be going against you as well. So there's different ways to be able to do the story mode. What you can do in the latest, which is what they're going to be kickstarting through later on, is it turns into a dungeon crawl. Okay, so this mission, this escorting the criminals to the halls of justice, that will actually be an actual dungeon crawl mission with miniatures. The designer Chris mentioned about the fact that a kind of book, a bit like Jaws of the Lion, where you're going to open it up, you're going to have a map. I presume it will have like the objectives and everything in the book. I got the feeling it was very, very similar to Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion in that sense, but it's still they want to use kind of like different game mechanics, but use the kind of missions as your fundamental backbone of that mission. So it suddenly turns into a kind of like an RPG where you've got this overarching story which is going on. And what they want, what they're aiming for people to do, is for players to kind of create their own story arcs and then post them online, so different people can play these stories. So once the sea kind of battle game, exploration, control game works, you'll kind of do that. You could do that first. Then you can zoom in to one of the cities, go and visit one of those cities and do this kind of card game where you're competing for these different missions. You can set those missions up if you want. You can do it any way you want, or you can have them random, just like this standard card game. Then you can maybe go, you know what, we're gonna go for a story mode, and we're gonna instead of these missions being random and they're coming out every time, you're actually gonna try and just complete the missions in a certain order. So you've got a proper thematic kind of story going on. Really so unique idea. And I really love games which try to amalgamate different kinds of games, different mechanical games, but all in the same world. So another one is Stone Sword Games. If you've watched some videos on my channel, Senjutsu, and another one you'll notice on the UK Games Expo video is Daimo, which is like the second game of that, which is very much so Senjutsu is a 1v1 predominantly samurai skirmish battle game, uses cards. Then you can use those characters on a Daimo, which is set in the same world, but you're now got like generals, and you've got a map, and it's area control, and it's resource management. And then the third game is going to be a kind of ninja dungeon crawl. So similar kind of idea in the sense of three very different mechanics, but this game and this Cursed Empire idea is just so much more about the story, and I really like this story which is following through with it. And Chris, he designed the Cursed Empire role-playing game I think he said about a decade ago, and it's all based on that world. So he's already fleshed out this world, which is great, because once I always think that with games, once you've got like Dragon Bonded, is that what the word it's called? A game which I'm waiting to be delivered, which I kickstarted a few months back. That had the same thing. They have already fleshed out all the world, and they just built the game on that. And this is the truth for Cursed Empire, and I really like that. It really excites me about this game. So yeah, we've definitely got these. The missions are kind of your backbone. I'm really looking forward to the story mode, and in fact, I'm probably I will be doing a video of a playthrough of the story mode. So I'm going to do the one that's in the book, which is online. So you go online to the rule book, and you'll be able to get the setup one that they've done in the city of Condor, which is the one city. Also online is a map of the area, and you'll see this sheer amount of these cities. And also Chris was mentioning that the fact that they're hoping to do kind of like expansions, which will be cities. So you'll get like new cards, new mission cards, obviously, which you'll put in new stories, and then you can tie that city to the next city, and you can have like this overarching story which is proper epic. And then zoom down into that particular one, a Heroes Resting Condor, for example. Okay, so you know that could literally just be, because it's real simple. It's only a one worth of one, and it's only a one defense, whereas some of them can be like massively. Where's a 4? There we go. So we might have, for example, hang on, which ones is those two, wasn't it? You might have Gorgon's Gaze, for example. Okay, so effectively your mission in Dungeon Crawl will be literally to take down the Gorgon. Now the Gorgon, obviously, it's not just going to be the Gorgon. They're going to have like different miniatures, and he already said that in the Kickstarter there's going to be miniatures, you know, loads of them as well. And if the miniatures, and I'm going to show you those next, the miniatures are going to be anything like the prototypes that we've got here, then it's something very exciting to look at. Now, it matches the art. So if we take Chrysos, for example, he has a miniature, which follows the same sculpt, okay? And I can't wait to paint these up. I'll probably be doing a video of that on the channel as well. I'll be using contrast paints with these. Really nice. I mean, yes, they are resin, but the detail is really nice, and I like the variety of the characters as well. I think we've got this one next. She is here. So, I mean, talk about a dynamic pose, but just really fantastic. And this is a spider Darken. So Darken is a type of species, I suppose, or that exist in this world. And there are cards which will trigger on that keyword of Darken. So you might be able to trigger with different Darken characters. Also, they also have factions as well. And as an advanced rule, your blue lasting cards also have factions, some of them. So this one doesn't, so it could go on anyone. But this one, for example, here, it has this faction. So you would only be able to play it on, in fact, I've even got one of these out. No, I don't think I do. Nope. So you would only be able to play it on that faction. So it makes it a lot more synergistic to use these lasting cards and put them on, rather than just put them on anyone you want, which is just the basic rules. So yeah, she's pretty cool. And then you've got, I don't think I've got any of the others out here at the moment, but you've got this kind of like dwarf character. Then you got this mage who's conjuring up something from a staff. More an elf type character. You've got this, I think this is Darken as well, but so cool. Really nice miniatures. And as I say, I know they are resin, but they are fantastic. Now look at this one for a dynamic pose. So I'm going to really enjoy it. And there's 7 at the moment on the pre-production. Here's a kind of like evil, well, it looks certainly evil, sorceress maybe, or something like that, with a snake wrapped around her. Lovely miniatures. So yeah, so we can expect to see miniatures in the dungeon crawl aspect of it, which is going to be awesome. And then it moves on from there. So that's Cursed Empire, and the one that's out at the moment that you can buy, I believe, is the Heroes of Thargos. So that's all these cards, and in here you basically get you get 136 cards plus an extra bonus 71. Bonus cards, sorry. So it's really nice, and then you get your there we go. We got 30 character cards. So originally there was 16, and then the Kickstarter chucked on an extra 14. So 30 characters, 52 lasting cards, which are your booster cards, 54 action cards, 66 missions. So 66 mission cards. If you think about that, especially with story mode, and you got different, not all in the city. You're spying on Colonel guilds. You can go to different cities as your mission. So these are ones inside of Condor in this particular box, but you've also got stuff around the area, so you can go to all these different areas as well, which is really cool. And then you've got the ones that are happening inside of the city as well, so you can kind of mix and match these to make your own stories. It's really cool, or literally just randomly shuffle them up, lay them out, and then you're good to go. You can put loot on them, so you can have different cards which you just put face down underneath, and then you can pick them up and then you put them into your deck, especially if you make them a bit stronger, so you can kind of have that upgrade mechanic. You can do what you like, and the flexibility is another massive bonus with this game, which I really do like and appreciate. So for example, you can get one of these +3s. Some of these are really good. So a Dreadwolf companion, for example, that you might pick up in a particular one. Okay, you could make it a little bit more specific. The Etican Gamble maybe, or locate secret door to Rund. Okay, so you locate that and you put this underneath. It could be complete random, or you know what it is, and therefore you're trying to complete that. And then if you complete this mission, you complete the mission in story mode, and you get this as your loot, as it were. Okay, so you can certainly play it how you like, which is really cool. Okay, so that's my little rundown of Heroes of Thargos, and I'm going to do a playthrough now of story mode solo of the one that was done in the rulebook. So catch that video next if you're interested in Heroes of Thargos.